Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mass Retirees Weekly Update. Today's Friday, January 27th. I'm Sean Duhamel. Thank you so much for joining with us and tuning in. Now, before I get to the news of the week, I just want to thank those members who took the time last Friday to participate in and join with us for our Teletown Hall meeting. We had 6,400 members participate in that meeting last week, and that broke all records. That is the largest crowd we have ever had at any single Mass Retirees meeting. It did not go unnoticed by Matt Vino and his team at the GIC, who of course were our special guests last week. Our members asked a lot of very good questions and had some great comments. Matt called me right after the meeting just to let me know, first of all, how thankful he and his team were for the opportunity to meet directly with all of you, but just how impressed they were by the number of retirees that participated, by the questions that you asked, and just the level of engagement, because it really shows that all of you care and that you are deeply invested in what's going on. And that makes our job here at Mass Retirees that much easier by having you engaged in the process. Now, I also want to point out that we're not going to agree with every single change that the GIC makes. They are providing health insurance benefits for nearly 500,000 people. And through that process, it's a difficult process. And the changes that are being made, such as the change from Unicare over to Harvard Pilgrim for our members living outside of New England, there are going to be some bumps in the road on that process, or in that process, there's no doubt. But the fact that Matt and his team at the GIC have vowed to work closely with us and with all of you to work through any problems that may exist and keep those open lines of communication, that goes a long way toward getting a positive outcome for everybody. And the fact that the GIC over these past several years, leading up to procurement and now as the decisions are being made, have continued not only to have an open line of communication with myself and Frank and our team here at Mass Retirees, but most importantly with all of you. Because hearing directly from you for your thoughts, your feelings, your having your questions answered, that's really the most important part of this whole process. So thank you again for joining with us. We will be holding more of these events in the future. As a matter of fact, on Friday, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, we will be hosting our next town hall meeting featuring Unicare. Unicare General Manager David Morales will be our special guest on St. Patrick's Day. We are very much looking forward to that opportunity for those of you who are insured through Unicare or are a GIC enrollee and interested in Unicare to have the opportunity to hear directly from David and his team and make informed choices as we go into the open enrollment period this spring. Now, speaking of meetings, next Wednesday on February 1st, Frank Valeri and I will be in Pompano Beach, Florida at the Pompano Beach Civic Center. Wednesday, February 1st at 11 a.m. is the start time for our meeting. This will be our first Florida meeting since the beginning of the pandemic back in 2020. We are very much looking forward to seeing those of you who are either Florida residents or who have traveled down to the Sunshine State as a snowbird. If you are in or around the Pompano area, please come on by and see us. We are really hoping for a great crowd. Now, as of now, this is our only planned or scheduled Florida meeting for 2023. We have chosen not to go to the Gulf Coast of Florida this year. There is just too much recovery work taking place, too much destruction and upheaval in that hurricane zone from Hurricane Ian that, of course, touched ground early last fall. And we know that a lot of our members have chosen either not to go to Florida this year or have gone somewhere else just because of what's going on. In addition, we are also looking at expanding our meetings to perhaps a couple of other areas of Florida, for instance, the greater Orlando area or up in the Villages. We have heard from a number of members living in those areas, and we just know from our demographics that we have a lot of members either living or visiting those areas in the winter. And we want to make the most of our time when we're down in Florida for a couple of days to meet with as many members as we can. So we'll be announcing future meetings heading throughout the rest of this year and into 2024. Our newsletter, which the March edition goes to press next week, will have a full schedule of upcoming events. So those will be the Teletown Hall in March, as well as in-person meetings across Massachusetts starting again in April. and we are looking forward to getting back out there again and engaging with our members directly. Now, earlier this week, Frank, Tom Bonarigo, Nancy McGovern, and I were in Washington, D.C. We attended the annual legislative conference of an organization known as NCEPRS, the National Conference of Public Employee Retirement Systems. NCEPRS was founded back in 1941. They are the premier nonprofit advocacy group for all of the public retirement systems across the country. They play a very important role. In addition to their advocacy work, they are also a tremendous resource for research as well as education. Every winter, they host an annual legislative conference where government officials, members of Congress, staff, the legislative leaders from all of the different public employee systems across the country, retiree organizations like Mass Retirees, and of course our friends in organized labor come together, exchange ideas, get caught up on trends that are happening not only in Washington at the national level, but also at the individual state level. And as a matter of fact, Nancy McGovern and I had a very in-depth conversation with the leadership team from the New York City teachers' pension system. The teachers in New York are split between two groups. The teachers outside of New York City all belong to a state system very similar to here in Massachusetts, where the New York City teachers have their own pension system that's run by their own board, and we were exchanging information on cost of living benefits. And if you read today's email message that went out this morning to all of our members, I detail some of the benefits that are available in New York compared to what we're getting here in Massachusetts. But all of us around the country are working on the same issues, trying to achieve the same success for our members. And that's why meetings like this and the information that we exchange with one another and the help we can give one another is really invaluable. Now, speaking of the COLA, we have a lot of very positive developments, continuing to take place here in Massachusetts relative to making improvements to the COLA. At the state level, one of our top priorities for this year is making benefit enhancements to the state and teacher COLA law, going to a $16,000 base, while at the same time trying to pass the enhanced or senior COLA benefit that would be a statewide benefit for all retirees. In the meantime, we continue to receive very positive news and information from our local retirement board members. Last Friday, the City of Boston Retirement Board unanimously approved the 5% COLA for all City of Boston retirees, which will include retired Boston teachers. As you know, the local retirement systems, which there are 102 local retirement boards, all of them across Massachusetts enacted a 3% COLA for the current fiscal year, which is FY23. Last fall, we were successful in passing a special law to allow local systems to increase the FY23 COLA from 3% up to 5%. And a number of systems have been implementing that benefit at the local level. As of last week, there were 17 systems. We're now into the 20s, Boston being one of the more recent systems. And what makes Boston significant is that not only did the Boston Retirement Board unanimously vote to increase the COLA to 5%, but they did so with the support of Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, which is extremely important because in the city of Boston, it is very, very, very difficult, if not impossible, to pass anything without the mayor's support. So the fact that Mayor Wu is on board with this really increases the likelihood of this becoming reality in Boston in the very near future. We believe that the City Council will be taking up this measure over the next week or two, which will put that money into Boston retirees' wallets a heck of a lot sooner. At the same time, we continue to receive reports and information from other local retirement systems of the work that continues to increase the local COLA base. And I am thrilled to report that just this week, the Bristol County Retirement System voted to increase their COLA base from the current $18,000 level to a brand new level starting this July 1st of $20,000. Now, if this measure is approved by the Bristol County Advisory Board, which is made up of representatives of all of the municipalities and member units that participate in the Bristol County retirement system. If this measure is approved, Bristol County will be the first system in the state to pass the $20,000 barrier. Last week, I reported on the town of Wellesley voting to go to a $19,000 COLA base this coming July, and then phasing in a $20,000 and a $21,000 COLA base in subsequent fiscal years. That measure is awaiting action before the Wellesley town meeting that will be coming up, I believe, in April. But again, Bristol would be the first system, if it's approved, to go beyond $20,000 or to $20,000. So we are very encouraged by the work that we are seeing continue to take place at the local level. We're also very encouraged by news coming out of Beacon Hill this week, where on Tuesday, the legislature, the joint Ways and Means committees, as well as the Healy administration and Administration and Finance Secretary Matt Gorkowitz held what is known as a revenue consensus hearing, where they bring in various economists and Department of Revenue officials and others to make presentations on what the outlook is for the Massachusetts economy. And most importantly, what that outlook will mean in terms of tax revenue. Now, the very good news is that the consensus is that the Massachusetts economy will continue to grow, that tax receipts will continue to grow. They do anticipate, however, a bit of a slowdown of the growth of tax receipts. However, even with that slowdown, the outlook is very positive. Now, for the coming fiscal year, the consensus puts the overall tax receipts for FY24 somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 billion, or perhaps a little bit over $40 billion. That does not include, however, the new millionaire's tax, the 4% surcharge on income above $1 million. When that is factored in, we're probably in the neighborhood of 41 to maybe even $42 billion in tax revenue for the coming fiscal year. However, keep in mind that the voter-approved tax surcharge, the millionaire's tax, is intended to go toward both education as well as transportation projects here in Massachusetts, and it is, of course, subject to the appropriation of the legislature. But that is very good news. Now, one of the other pieces of good news, and it's a fun piece of good news, is that earlier this week, the Lego Corporation that makes the children's toys, of course, announced that they are relocating their United States headquarters from Enfield, Connecticut to Boston over the next couple of years. They have not selected a site in the city. However, they've let it be known that they intend on siting their new corporate headquarters here within the city of Boston. That will bring nearly 800 new jobs to the Bay State, and it really just continues the trend that we've seen for the past 10 or 15 years, where a growing number of very large international corporations and other companies have either headquartered here in Massachusetts or at least have a very sizable corporate footprint in and around the Boston area and really throughout Massachusetts, which is really driving our state's economy. So this is very good news. Again, as we have continued to say, there's no such thing as a rubber stamp or a sure bet, but the fact that our economy continues to perform very well, hopefully will lend itself toward us being successful in our long-term advocacy goals with raising the COLA base and raising the basic life insurance and raising the veterans bonus. Those are just a few of the key issues that we're focused on as we move forward into 2023. So with that, I'm going to sign off for the week, but one additional piece of information, or really two things. First of all, if you are in or around the Pompano Beach area next Wednesday, please come by, say hello. It would be great to see you. We're really hoping for a great crowd. It's a fantastic facility at the Pompano Beach Civic Center. Their municipal employees do a wonderful job there, so we're looking forward to getting back down and being amongst our members again. And also, the report next week will focus mostly on the Social Security windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. We want to provide an update for all of you as to where things are at, what our outlook is going forward. We've held off on doing that up until now. We wanted to meet with some of our friends and colleagues in Washington this week, gather some additional information. So we will be putting together a report for the newsletter as well as an update next week in terms of just to give you an overview of what you can expect to take place over the next couple of years. But again, thank you for tuning in, and we will be back to you again next Friday, which I believe is February 3rd. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye for now.